Hi, this is Ryan with Camper Solutions, and I'm here to do some repairs on the lift system on a 97 Coleman Sunridge. It's a Grand Touring series, so it has a waist level crank. Currently the symptoms are the top won't stay up. Just going to hear it clicks. Make sure the latches are off. And it will go up. But goes down by itself. So we can tell the locking mechanism is not working. One thing I did notice is when it gets down to the bottom, it will click right away. It doesn't have the drive shaft or the extension tube isn't backing off. It should have at least 2 or 3 turns before you hear the clicking when you use it from the bottom to when you start raising it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off the bottom plate, take a look at the wiffle tree and the chain connection, and probably get a pipe wrench to get that extension tube off. Okay, well, I got it close to my shop, and this one has the fun of it has a trailer hitch attached to it. This is done is it's going to prevent me from having easy access to 2 of the wiffle tree screws, which is bad. That means the wiffle tree hasn't been maintained, and 1 rivet. So I'll be able to pop those out without taking off this, hopefully, and I'll relocate those screws so wiffle tree maintenance can be done in the future. While I'm at it, it looks like I'll probably have to do some maintenance on the lift anyways. So now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pound out the roll pin and see if I can remove this extension tube. Hopefully. Okay, well, I have found the problem. In order to get there, I had to take the spare tire off. The spare tire bolts come out. I took the whole spare tire cover off just for ease more than anything. Then underneath I drilled out the rivets holding the plastic piece on. There's a screw on the top and on the side of the bumper, and the bumper came right off. And so far that's what I got. You know, I have not taken it to the point where I can take the whole panel off. I might get there. But the actual problem is revealed. So if you look, you can see the chain and the sprocket. As I crank the roof up, you'll see the chain sprocket moving after the click. And you really can't see it from this angle. Maybe from the other side I'll see it better. Alright, there you see the latch that when it's clicking, it's going up. That's supposed to be held. That holds the top, but when I let go of the crank, it slips down. So that means that brake pad, which is right in the middle, is contaminated. And if you look on the extension, you can see some evidence of oils, and also the chain is really oiled. So somebody cranked it up really hard, got it stuck, and then they sprayed oil or WD-40 or something of that sort, thinking that would get it to lower. And it got it to lower, but it contaminated the brake, so it won't stay up. So I guess I didn't really break anything, which is good. But it's a lot of work to get back to that now that this does not come out. Well, I think I can give you a better example because I had to take the whole panel off. Was just drill out 5 rivets on the top and peel it off carefully. So with this, you can see that gear system really well. So the silver one inside is the locking mechanism to keep the roof outside. Then you have that little piece of brown, which is the brake, and then you have the chain, which is on the chain sprocket, which is the whole back thing. Now the chain sprocket is held in place by 2 pins. You can just barely see one of them that goes all the way through. So I'm going to raise the roof, and to keep it up, that silver one should stop and hold it up. But you can see it's going down. So the brake pad mechanism is not holding the roof up. And this is purely from contamination. Now I'm going to try to get it backed out and so I can clean it. But right now the extension tube is jammed on there. Somebody strong cranked it up. Alright, I was finally able to pound out the roll pin. You'll see there's actually a roll pin. It's hard to see. And a solid pin that stack on top of each other that hold the chain sprocket on. In theory now, I should be able to take this out. Here goes one washer. And I'm going to take it out by hand. So the chain is disgustingly sticky, and here's the culprit. This is why I had to tear it apart. Grease on a brake pad. Somebody sprayed some icky stuff in here. So now I'm going to have to degrease these, and I'll degrease the chain and put a dry lube on it too at the same time. Gosh, it's just sad. Somebody sprayed lube in it and caused all this headache. Never spray lube in your brake. Okay, here's how Coleman lift system works. You have the extension tube where your crank handle goes in. Goes onto the drive shaft, which has a coarse thread and a fine thread. The fine thread has a nut that sits in the extension tube so the extension tube doesn't come all the way off. The coarse thread is for the extension tube connection. And what that'll do is it'll push against this gear, this cog, which is what you hear the clicking sound on. And right there is a brake pad that sits between the teeth of the chain, or if you don't have a waist level, just go straight to the wiffle tree. And so you see this will slide on, has that nut on it that will hold it on, screws on, and as it screws on it tightens against the cog, which will hold the brake pad and keep the roof up. When you start loosening it, loosens up and lets this cog spin free, lowering the roof. If you get contamination in here on the brake pad, it won't hold, it'll just slip free. And that's the most common. What you also need to do, make sure these are kind of lubed, because this has to go back and forth. And that's it. So I have this entire system taken apart. You can see. And I'm going to put it back together. Well, the lift is successfully repaired. I degreased the chain and actually lubed it up with a chain lube instead of whatever multi-purpose lube was put on it that destroyed this lift system. carefully put the gear system back together and pounded the pins back in. And you can see now when I crank it up, it'll hold the roof, because this gear will not slide freely anymore. You have the teeth, you have a brake pad, then you have the ratchet which holds it up. To lower it, you just go counterclockwise and it'll bring it down. Okay, well, I got it working, so it holds it up really nicely. I stop, there it is. However, when it goes down, you can see that it kind of jumps. I'm cranking. And I would actually have to start undoing it myself soon. So that's not exactly right. So I hope greasing the wiffle tree will take care of that. Now to grease the wiffle tree, pretty simple actually. Get underneath your camper. Under your camper, you're going to find this long box right where your crank goes on. See, we have this exposed, we can see the chain goes right out there. That's the end of the wiffle tree. And this covers it all. So I'll just remove the screws quick and so I can grease it. I know this one hasn't been greased in a long time because you couldn't get easy access to it because of this trailer hitch. Now here's the inside of the plate. You can see really dry, dirty grease. And then here's your wiffle tree screw. Comes in through here. I don't really like how that looks bent. Up. And here's your 4 main cables. And for the adjustments, if you need to fine tune the lift height. What there also is a stop collar. You can see this is in place. That's there. There's a second stop collar back here. And you want to try to turn those to make sure they're working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take off as much grease as possible so I can put new grease on. Now here's a nice clean wiffle tree. And I know what they say, don't move it with the wiffle tree cover off, but what you're making sure is that this doesn't twist, because it rides either on the top plate for this one or most often on the bottom cover. So you can move it, just be careful that this won't twist around. I only move it about 2 inches so I can get down and get the grease off from underneath the screw and back and forth that way. Now it's grease. Now you can see the wiffle tree nice and greased. On this one, like I was saying, it runs on the top. You can see scratches from where the wiffle tree will run. Usually it's on the plate and you'll see scratches on the plate, but this one does not. So I just greased up the top really good. I have it lowered all the way so that I can get grease everywhere that possibly should run. You can see there's a little bit of slack in these. So I don't know if it's exactly good, but more than anything, this stop collar up here is on, because if this stop collar is missing, then you will over raise your roof and tear your canvas. Alright, now I have a repaired lift system. Nice and clean. I sprayed that with cleaner after I put it together, make sure the contaminations were off. Greased the wiffle tree. Goes up much easier. A lot less effort. Now here's the question. Alright, I'm not getting the jumping anymore. This is how I expect it to lower. Yep, and it backs off perfect. That's Coleman's lift system. Now, just Just got to put it back together.